Okay, Johnny.
Perfect. So just I was introducing myself earlier, but basically we're just operating the No Barriers Foundation, which is a not-for-profit based up in the mountaintop in Letterkenny, and we provide specialist neuro rehab services for people with so it's physical and intellectual disabilities in the northwest of Ireland here. So you can just go on to the first slide there. So basically, I suppose No Barriers was born out of, I'm a physio by trade, and once I graduated, I was working voluntary up in the stroke unit in Letterkenny there 3 days a week just to keep my skills up to date when I was waiting for kind of any job to come up in the HSE. And I was there for about 9 months voluntary before I ended up moving to Australia just to try and find work. But when I was in the stroke unit, I was seeing, I suppose, that just one moment is all it takes to change the course of your life. So we would have had people coming in through the door with stroke, brain injury, spinal injury, and their life is completely different one day, and then maybe an accident happens or something befalls them, and their whole life kind of changes very abruptly, and the impact that it has on them and the impact that it has on their families, and just the ongoing support that would be needed once they would get out, I suppose, of rehab back into the community again. And I suppose my background was whenever I came back from Australia, I'd opened a few private physiotherapy clinics. So I was kind of used to operating a business. But once I was getting people inquiring just about longer term rehab, and there just wasn't a huge amount, well, there wasn't really any in the community, and people were having to travel abroad to get kind of the help that they needed. So I had set up No Barriers just as a not-for-profit and a charity so that people could try and access it as cheap as they possibly could. Because, with the infrastructure you have to put behind these types of services with equipment and I suppose the number of staff needed, it would be far too expensive for someone to try and afford these types of prices. So we ended up setting up No Barriers. You can just go on to the next slide there, Martin. Next one, I think. There's nothing on that one there, Martin, is it?
Here we go. Is that it?
Yeah. And that's really just in Ireland today. The problem is that people with a disability, with or without money, can't reach their full rehab potential, but those with money have a better chance. So as I said, even if you do have money at the minute, or you have the financial resources to get rehab, a lot of people have to travel abroad. But obviously we live in a society in Ireland today, which I feel is pretty unfair in terms of people that, are financially well off, tend to be able to get better support than those who don't have the same financial backing, and that needs to change. So at No Barriers, we believe in Ireland where everyone with a disability, regardless of their level of disability or ability to pay, can achieve their full rehab potential and maximise their lifelong physical and mental health and well-being in an inclusive community environment. So we set about creating an inclusive, affordable health facility equipped with specialist neurological equipment, allowing anyone with a disability to train and improve their current level of physical and mental health. And it was very, very important that that facility was based in the community, in an inclusive environment, so that people didn't feel like they were going into a hospital setting and they were just training side by side with others within the community. So the National Disability Authority figures would be close to 30,000 people classed as having some sort of disability within Donegal alone. 13,000 of those would have either a neurological condition or intellectual disability. It would be those 13,000 primarily that we're currently catering for, but we feel that as our services expand, we can cater for more as well. It's important to remember that these figures are just in Donegal. So at present, we would get people travelling from the Midlands and Offaly, Mayo. We would get people travelling from Tyrone. We have people travelling from Antrim, even Sligo, Leitrim, to be getting these services. So in Ireland, really, there isn't a great infrastructure there. So the figures we're listing there are just Donegal, but it's a much bigger problem, really. So just to give a brief overline, I suppose, the storyline of the foundation. In 2016, I had kind of set it up. My mum came on as a co-founder and director. So we set up as a CLG. And at that point, it was just really about chatting to people that maybe we thought were had good skill sets or influence within the community in Donegal that might be interested in forming a committee, you know, and trying to make this happen. So probably for every 4 or 5 people we chatted to, you know, maybe one of them kind of joined the committee, and the rest said it was never going to happen. So it was important to probably have a bit of resilience and kind of you know, keep believing in it and driving it forward at that stage. But eventually we got a committee together and had our first meeting, and we launched a thing called a Positive Steps campaign. So it was basically where we had been researching and looking and found out that we could get European leader funding to get a thing called a robotic exoskeleton. We came up with 162,000. Now the leader funding, DLDC, were very, very important in this, and we had a meeting with them, you know, initially to see if it was feasible or not. Frank Kelly and Ashton were brilliant and helping us to kind of plan forward and really believing it from the get-go. So it took us about a year of doing paperwork and different things, and we ended up having to fundraise 25% of the cost of the machine. So we had set a goal, raised 40,000 in the community and through various fundraising initiatives. And thankfully, with DLDC's help, the application got to 75% match funding. So we got the leader grant there of 122,000 to be able to get that first exoskeleton in Donegal here. At that point, we were kind of started to take on 1 member of staff just to be able to operate the suit and try and get things going. But obviously it was just a startup and very slow, and we were very lucky at that point. We didn't have any money as an organization. So our leisure centre and Fit Hub up in the mountaintop were letting us walk in the suit for free. So that basically we were just trying to keep our overhead as low as we possibly could. And they were very good to like let us use the facility and help us in that way. So we kind of grew from there a bit, and just people were contacting us and asking for services. So in 2019, then we moved up to Fit Hub in Letterkenny. As I say, we were able to walk there for free previously, but we started doing it more and more there, and we took on an extra physiotherapist, a neurophysiotherapist there to be walking with the suit. And at that stage, we were lucky enough to be having enough revenue that we, I suppose, took a leap and started renting a portion of that gym off Fit Hub. So the gym is 12,000 square foot up there. So we started renting 1,600 square foot to be able to do more neuro rehab. And then we ended up being able to use the other side of the facility when it wasn't, you know, when there weren't exercise classes going, to be able to do that. And I suppose we were hit hard then, like everybody here, with COVID. So whenever COVID hit, obviously we had to change everything about what we were doing and close down operations for 6 weeks until the government had told us that, you know, it was safe for us as I suppose a health related organization to keep doing things. But it really changed everything that we were doing. It was touch and go for a while, because we were in a situation where we had got staff to leave other jobs to become coming and working for us, and the other jobs that they would have left would have been HSE related posts. So even whenever COVID hit and the government was putting out the emergency schemes, you know, we had felt that we were working really hard not to try and put them on the emergency schemes, or at least to be able to pay them full wages as best we could. And the bank balance was dithering down, you know, but we were doing a lot of community fundraising just online at that time. And we were very thankful for organizations like Donegal Daily and different things to be able to help us to generate resources and revenue, just to keep things afloat at that stage. And thankfully we got through that okay. And in 2021, then we were just kind of, I suppose, progressing in the same facility. We started doing a research project with ATU, and we're very fortunate to develop a strategic partnership with them. We were able to take on an extra staff member. And that research project was basically on the effect that we were having with the exoskeleton on the people that we were using it with. And we were lucky it was a stepping stone then to getting PhD research. And we feel the research is hugely important to us. And I'll talk a wee bit about that more down the line, but it probably solidifies kind of what we're doing and gets a lot more buy-in from other organizations. And we were working hard just behind the scenes at that point to be filling out all the paperwork. Anyone who's done it knows the amount that's involved, but just to get the charity status. So in 2022, we got charity status, and we were working hard just to see, basically every exoskeleton has a 4-year warranty with it. And because the prices of the suit are so expensive, once the warranty runs out, it could cost 10,000 every time it breaks down to get it repaired. And we just don't have those resources. So we were trying to find a way of getting it. And we were lucky enough, there was the Donegal Social Enterprise grant, and the County Council gave us a grant of 170,000, and we had to put 19 towards that ourselves. So we were able to get that, the second exoskeleton suit for 189,000 at that stage. And that was really, really important to us, because that second suit has another 5-year warranty. So it just means that in the event it breaks down, we can get a replacement suit within 48 hours, and the service can keep rolling over. So it just gives us more kind of security longer term. And at that stage, we were in a position where I suppose we knew we wanted to be operating an inclusive gym facility, and we were trying to figure out ways of generating more resources and having more security. And at that point, we were lucky enough that the previous owner up on the mountaintop was kind of, I suppose, looking at his own kind of options as well. And we had brokered a deal, and we didn't have any money, at the time to spare, but basically we figured out a way of being able to buy the memberships of that other organization and all the equipment and integrate it into our own social enterprise, so that basically all of the gym memberships that were being paid month on month by the other members without a disability were helping to subsidize our own running costs. And basically we've done that and taken a leap, but we're basically going to repay the cost of buying all that stuff over the course of the next 5 years, so that we didn't have to put any money up, and we were able to run it as a social enterprise and a business. But I suppose with that, then as things grew, we were up to kind of 16 staff at that stage. And it's good and exciting that we were growing, but at the same time a bit daunting, because as an organization we were trying to run as leanly as we could, and we're currently not part of the CSP program. So we were trying to operate with as few staff basically employed that aren't revenue generators. So what I mean by that is, if you're not face to face with a client or able to create impact by delivering a service and generating revenue from it, then you're an extra expense that's not doing that. So it was only really in 2022 when we did that I had stepped off the board as chairperson. And I kind of, through necessity, had to step into an employee role, and I would be on a 3-day week at the minute with another operations coordinator on a 2-day week. So we were trying to run the thing with basically one member of staff that wasn't generating revenue as a physio or an occupational therapist or a strength and conditioning coach at that stage. So it's kind of still the way we're going, but we've applied for the CSP now. So fingers crossed, if we can get that, it'll really help us going forward. And the other thing that's going to help us a huge amount is the shared services model as well, which we're hugely thankful for that as well. And through just 2023, we were lucky enough to be applying for the Dormant Accounts Fund, a scaling up fund for 100,000 to get new wheelchair accessible gym equipment, just to make it more inclusive. We rebranded the gym from FitHub to No Barriers Fitness, and an organisation that's been very good to us, Rethink Ireland, had given us the Social Enterprise of the Year, which for us meant a lot more in terms of just when we're applying for funding. It gave us more integrity as an organisation. And from a networking point of view, it helped us a lot as well. So Rethink Ireland were really good to us with that. And we had applied for a Down Syndrome Champions program as well, which we're working with on Rethink Ireland. So at the minute we're kind of sitting at 20 staff, but we would hope with the funding from that we should double in size hopefully in the next 12 months from that partnership. All right, Martin. So basically there's, I suppose, 3 areas that we would look at is those discharged from acute care within the HSE with the likes of acquired injuries like spinal cord injury, brain brain injury, stroke. We would also have those with more degenerative conditions that would be longer term management, so MS, Parkinson's disease, cerebral palsy. We've just started last year, we started pediatric physiotherapy for that, so which is much needed in terms of pediatric services are very limited here. So we're pushing hard for that at the minute as well. And those with intellectual disabilities within the community as well, we work hard to create an infrastructure for that as well. Okay, Martin.
All right, it's not moving for me. There we go.
Yeah. So I suppose no barriers, the gym itself. It's a 12,000 square foot facility now at the minute, and we're hoping we're going to put in an application to the Sports Capital grant that's coming up soon. We need to make the second floor wheelchair accessible, which it currently isn't. The majority of the floor space is on the first floor anyway, but we would like to be doing a renovation on that and making a few other changes to the gym as well. But basically we have upper body and lower body exoskeleton suits, the adaptive gym equipment, which is a brand called Hure from Finland, skilled and supportive staff, which are probably the biggest piece of the puzzle for us as neurophysiotherapists, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, and strength and conditioning coaches. And one of the biggest challenges for us as an organization is that, you know, our competitors are the HSE and NHS. So for us, whenever we're trying to hire staff and identify good staff, hopefully, you know, we're in a situation where they might leave a job in the HSE or NHS. And then if they do, that we're able to keep them, you know, longer term employed with the foundation. You know, we have to match, you know, the salary scales and the employment packages that the NHS and HSE are currently offering, which is a huge challenge for us, you know, as a charity. But it's imperative that we don't end up, you know, losing good staff to these organizations longer term, and we can keep, you know, a good infrastructure in place there. For us, we were looking to create a safe, but challenging and inclusive environment. So to build confidence, you know, if someone was apprehensive about coming through the door, we needed to be welcoming, and for them to feel safe and confident coming through the doors and asking for our help. But then it's about, you know, creating that challenging and inclusive environment where, you know, they're able to see kind of their potential and the abilities that they have, and just step by step try and gain confidence and push themselves little bit by little bit. And that's where the inclusive gym environment comes in, so that, you know, when they're coming through the door, they're integrating into the community. They're exercising side by side with people without disabilities as well, and just having a crack and making friends and being part of the community when they come through the door. So on top of the disability services that we would offer, we run 40 classes, community gym classes per week, and we can, you know, people with disabilities can integrate into those classes, you know, as well. So it creates a nice rapport there. And first and foremost, we need it to be as affordable as it can possibly be. Okay. So we're committed to improving the physical and mental health of those with disabilities through evidence-based therapy, exercise, and nutritional support. Through this, we want to encourage greater levels of independence, empower people through education, peer support, and goal setting, with a huge emphasis on exercise and physical activity, making them fitter, stronger, and decreasing readmissions into the HSE. We want to advocate for and facilitate the integration of those with disabilities into group exercise, outdoor recreation, and social activities within the community. And we want to work together with other similar organisations to achieve this. Okay. So we're hoping what our clients experience when they come through the door is cost-effective rehabilitation. And I suppose we've grown organically at the minute, and it's really only over the course of the past probably 12 to 24 months that we've started to get a little bit of funding from the HSE, which allows us to subsidise the services. But before that, we were, as a social enterprise, trying to, you know, run as leanly as we could without any help. And we're hoping down the line that, you know, as we get more and more support from the government, that we'll be able to make it cheaper and cheaper for people to access the services. We're still not happy with how much it costs for those to access it. But really, I mean, if we talk in prices, the people that would be accessing a similar service to No Barriers, if they have to go for a week's intensive therapy to the UK, are getting quoted between 10 and 12,000 sterling for the week. Whereas at the minute we would charge between 30 and 75 euros for a session, regardless of how many staff they need. So if they need 2 or 3 physios, it still costs the same. But you know, the problem with that price is it's still a little bit too much for some people out there, and we need to come up with a solution for that if we can get more funding. But we need to improve the physical and mental health of people. As I said, create a social outlet. Education is hugely important. People need to understand, you know, why they're getting fitter and healthier and what it means to them. Teaching them to self-manage, and through that, improve self-esteem and confidence. There's a lot of peer support after a class. People might sit around for an hour having a cup of coffee and having, you know, a chat afterwards, which is hugely important for us. And it, I suppose, eventually results just in an improved quality of life. I mentioned the strategic partnership with ATU. So that project that we did, we were lucky enough through the Irish Research Council to get PhD funding for that. And we were looking at basically the physical changes from walking in the suit for 12 weeks. We were looking at the changes in someone's quality of life. And we were also looking at a thing called galvanic skin response. So they're little sweat gland sensors in the hands, which can measure emotional arousal. So we were looking to get an idea of how someone felt when they were walking in the suit. So that study is just being written up at the minute, and analysing the results. And then we also would run a HSE, intellectual disability health and wellbeing module, which is basically six week modules that we run for the intellectual disability hubs around Donegal. And we had only got a grant aid agreement for this last year. So it's something that we're looking to build that relationship with the HSE for. But basically, people with intellectual disabilities go through a 6 week intensive module where they're doing different types of physical activity, exercise, mental health classes, yoga, Pilates, cognitive behavioral therapy, learning how to deal with stress, cooking classes, anything really to do with their health and well-being. And after 6 weeks, they can graduate from the program, and we're really loving delivering the program and have had great feedback so far on that. So we're hoping that will build as well. So basically, you know, it's been a big challenge, but over the past 3 years, we've went from having spent 70,000 trying to deliver the services within the community to over 500,000. And obviously, it's a big challenge because you know, as a charity and as an organization, we're supposed to try and build up a reserve, which we're still, you know, trying to do, I suppose, as everyone is out there. And in an ideal scenario, you'd want to have 3 months operating costs just in the event that anything, you know, was to go wrong. But it just hasn't been feasible for us in the last couple of years. With growth, it's very challenging to try and, you know, balance the books, and we're, you know, able to do that at the moment, but it costs a lot of, you know, to currently run the service, you know, and we're working hard on the budgets and with the board to just, I suppose, try and keep growing the organisation without taking too much financial risk, you know, and are hoping in the next couple of years, if we can get a little bit more support from the government, that you know, we'll I suppose have less and less financial risk, but that's money that we're currently spending on services is a mix between Neurophysio, one-to-one, group exercise classes, obviously with the inclusive gym, trying to buy equipment. Most of the equipment we get through grants, and we have to just match fund a little bit, so we're very lucky with that regard. One of the things we've been working hard to try and do is access more European funding. So through Erasmus Plus programs and different things, we're currently looking at seeing whether we can access more European funding. Rethink helped us with a European growth strategy, so we're working on that, and a community growth strategy. And the other thing that we currently don't, you know, do as much of, which we'd like to do more of, is engaging with more corporates and big companies in around Donegal to see if they would be interested in supporting us a little bit more. So we're currently working a bit on that as well. Okay, Martin.
Yeah, sorry, we're stuck again, John.
No, you're okay.
Yeah, there we
go. So again, as I was saying, we're hoping to double our service delivery by the end of 2024, so that we're basically able to double the impact that we're having on the community. And again, just trying to balance the books as we do it, and making sure that we don't kind of expose ourselves too much financially. And that this is where, you know, it's hugely important, the shared services model, where, you know, basically I'm trying to do the salaries at the end of the month and doing the budgets and different things. But you know, this is an example where we can't afford to have somebody working full time at the minute, you know, helping us with our bookkeeping and our budgeting and our kind of finance stuff. So we're really thankful to DLDC, and through the shared services model, we'll have somebody that's able to give us a bit of a hand with that, keeping a closer eye on all the finances, which would make a big difference to us. But we want to continue to innovate, attract investors and partnerships, and really, as I say, longer term, to make it more affordable for everyone within the community and to strengthen the organisation as a whole. We'd be looking to focus on grant aid agreements and service level agreements with the HSE, and continue to build the research portfolio. Last week, we were lucky enough to have Anne Rabbitte, the Minister for Disability, came down, and it was another, I suppose, time where I just started phoning up the office and asking to speak to them, and through a couple of phone conversations, and probably from even the help of kind of the support that DLDC have given us and Rethink Ireland, it gave us a wee bit more integrity, and we were lucky enough to get her to come up to try and, you know, show her what we can do within the community and see if we can get a little bit more investment in community services. Okay. Yeah, so hopefully that gave everyone a bit of an idea as to what we're doing. Obviously, it's a work in progress, and you know, we've grown a good bit over the past couple of years, but with growth comes discomfort as well. So, you know, we're working hard to try and create a good infrastructure around no barriers, and you know, as I say, hopefully with getting a little bit more support from the HSE, we'll be able to continue to grow things. I know every one of you out there is probably going through the same thing as ourselves in terms of trying to work on a budget and multi-job times as well. So it's nice just to be able to, I suppose, be in a group like this as well, and to be sharing, I suppose, any issues or problems that we're all having. So I'm not sure if anyone has any questions about us or what we're doing or how we're doing it, but feel free to shout away.
Johnny, thanks so much. I'll just stop the recording there now.